Welcome to Let's Make a Game Platformer, episode 20. In last episode, I've improved the model rendering, so this Duke, this character, as well as the stars, and also allowed the models to be rotated. As you can see, the stars are rotating constantly, and character is rotating based on the direction in which I last moved. As you can see, I also modified the levels to be off screen. I've modified the levels to give a better understanding of the game itself and the stuff you can do. I also modified the jump velocity, so it jumps a little lower than before, because before it was like jumping huge amount, and this was like not very gameplay. So it was more like a tuning that I did off screen. I didn't want it to do anything else in the code. This is all was just modified the prefabs here, like the levels and also the player prefab. I've modified the jump velocity to 6. Also, one more thing I did off screen was moving the context and entity, the engine itself, into this project, so that if you download the project starting from this episode, you have everything you need in this one project to be able to run it. You don't have to have any external dependencies, so all the code is in here. But I'll be showing only code in the core project here, so the code that actually you would have to write if you had all the libraries available here. So the gaming and the context, entity, and serialization. Okay, so in today's episode, I'd like to concentrate on adding lighting to the scene. So as you can see at the moment, the displayed result of our environment is very bland. There is no sense of depth. There is no, and that's because we don't have any lighting available. Okay, so at the moment it's very bland. As I said, there is no, this is a cube, or these are all cubes, but you don't really see that, and there's no 3D feeling to this. Well, the rotation helps a little bit, but not really. You can see that this is in a cube only when you jump, so when you look at it from the top. So let's add lighting. So the way to add lighting in LibGTX, there's a couple of different approaches. The easiest one is using an environment. So that's the approach I'd like to use in this game, at least for the now. I don't know if we're going to change it later. But first, let me do some cleaning up once again. So we'll have, in the rendering, we have the model, and I'd like to separate all those classes that are about model into this package. Okay, so now we have maybe rendering UI. Okay, and platform. Okay, so I have now separate things in the rendering, so now I can much more easier to have access to this stuff. Okay, so the way we provide the environment to the rendering process and the rendering process is by implementing the method getEnvironment in the rendering entity provider. So let me provide this method here, and we will return. Okay, let's now go with the null implementation. So we don't have anything. We have to modify the way we render stuff. So all the places where we render the environment, so the model renderer and platformer environment renderer, we have to modify the call to the render method in model batch to contain the environment that is passed in the event render environment. So let me do this change here and this change here, and we are done with these two classes that render stuff. Now we just have to configure the environment. So let me create here an environment class in the entity provider for the platformer. And I will provide for now a point light. You have a couple different lights you can specify you can add in the environment. Different types of light. Okay, so, and in the initialize, I will add the light. So as you can see, you can base light, which is so there are three types of light: basic directional light, which is specifying the direction from which the light is coming. It has no distance, it goes infinitely and at the same rate for everywhere. There's point lights, which are basically specify the point in space where the light is coming from, and you specify the intensity of the light, and then the light, the further along you go from the point in the space where the light is, the less influence the light has on the object. And spotlight is similar to point light. The only difference is that you can imagine like a spotlight in a theater or something, where you have point in a space and the direction in which the light is going. So everything going in a different direction, then the light is not influenced by this light, and distance from the light also matters. So, but we are using point light for the camera light. And let's go with, in the setup, so in here we'll return the environment. And let's set up the light here, the camera light. So basically I'll add so that the light is coming exactly as if it was lighting from the camera. So we'll say that's a white light, result X, result Y. This is position, okay. And distance from terrain, and intensity, let's try 100F. This is basically, it's difficult to calculate what you like to have here. It's the easiest way to figure out what to put here is just give it try one value. If you don't like it, modify it, and so on and so forth. So let's try 100 and see if it's going to be too dark, too light, or good enough or not. You have to figure out the balance. Okay, this is too bright, as you can see. Also, the top part of the platform is not lighted. That's because the light is coming straight from the camera. So let's maybe move the light a bit above the camera. So let's do that. We'll add here like camera light Y distance. Let's do 1.5. So let's move it a bit above the camera. This is the position of the camera, and this is slightly above it. Okay, it's a little bit better, not yet there. Also, the depth here is a bit lost, because especially you can see it in this level where the camera level is pointing directly at the character, is that to give some better depth perception to the player, maybe we should move the camera a bit up from the point where it's from the object it's pointing at. So let's I'll introduce one other static here. And let's move it by 1.5 as well. So the camera will be moved by this amount. And since we want the here, okay, so we'll move the camera. So this is the value that I figured out. Okay, this is a point where all the objects we are interested in are focused. And now we'll move the camera a little bit further, a little bit up, to give a bit better view on the platform that the player is located, or the interesting objects are located. So we get a bit better view from slightly above. Okay, now we are seeing a little bit better here. Still not great. I'll maybe add a little bit more to the here, and also I'll increase the intensity, because by adding this distance and above objects, I've modified the distance from the light to the objects we are looking at. So let me add a bit more intensity and see how this works. This is more tuning. There is no mathematical formula we can come up with. You just have to figure out what looks good. That's pretty much true for any lighting stuff you do in games. You just have to test a couple of different values and see what's looking good. Okay, I think that's okay. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this. Maybe a little bit less intensity of light, because as you can see, there's like a full white glare here. So let's maybe lower it a bit. Let's see how this 130 looks like. Okay, the glare is almost gone. Maybe I'll move the camera a little bit more up, even from the camera. Yes, maybe 3, so that the light will not be lighting directly the front of the platform. It will be a little bit at a higher angle to have lesser impact on the rendered platform. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. I'm happy with this. Okay, so this allowed us to have one light that basically coming straight from the camera. Let's maybe introduce something else here. We have a little bit of time still. I also should try to get the episode within like 20 to 30 minutes. So let me maybe add a new component. That will specify. So imagine you want to have a torch in a game, so something that lights the environment. So let me do point light component. So we'll have location based on location component. However, in here we'll get translate X, get translate Y, get translate Z, and we'll have a get red for color of the light, and intensity, because these are the values that we need to provide when we define the light. Okay, and let's do here receive event. if light is added to the scene, so after component added, okay, let's say point light added, because we might add some other later on. So point light component, and we also need to have location, so it has to have a location as well. Okay, when it is added, we will add it to the environment. So first we'll construct it. You have to also remember it. ttRef to point light, because we have to remove it when it's unloaded. Point lights point light set new color, point light get red, point light get green, point light get blue, and alpha 1. And then position is location get x plus point light get translate x. Let me move to the line below. And the same for y and z. And finally the intensity, which is point light get intensity. After this, we have to first of all add it to the point lights map. Not add, but put on the map. And finally, we have to add it to the environment. Similarly, we'll have the point light removed before component removed. Point light and location. And point lights remove entity ref. And environment remove light. Okay, so if an entity shows up with these two components, it's going to be added to the environment and it's going to have an immediate effect. So let's give it a try. Let's create a new asset here. Let's make it an object. So we'll have here torch prefab. And let me reuse the star for a second. For the time being, I will not render it. We can add it later. We don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. And we don't need this. We just need actually only point light component. And because it's a torch, it's going to be slightly yellowish. So let me add a, I think it's red, was it? Yeah, red. And it's a float. In the previous ones, everyone we specified them with integers, so maybe let's continue with this trend. And in the provider, I'll divide it by 255. Okay, so red is going to be 255, green is going to be 255, and blue, let's go with 127. And intensity, let's go with 100. See how this looks. Okay, so we have these things. We don't need translate at the moment. We don't care. I think this is not used, so there must be a bug there. X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. Okay, that looks better. And let me add to the second level a new object. It's going to be a torch prefab. And let's add it directly above the portal. So 4, 2, 0. So 1 block above the portal. Let's see if it's going to work the first time. It will be good if it did. So this is in the second level, not the first one. Okay, we are seeing some lighting here and the really white lighting here. So maybe I have to reduce the intensity of it. But you can see this is yellowish here, which is what we wanted to achieve. Let me check if I put it in the right place. 4 to 0, yes. Okay, so let me reduce the intensity to maybe 10. I think the light was just too strong. Okay, we are seeing here a torch being lighting this area the way we want it to. It's not directly here. It's moved to the left because that's where the position, the X position is 4. So let me move it 4.5. So in the middle of the portal. So you can imagine that the portal is starting from X4 and has a width of 1. So from 4 to 5. So 4.5 is going to be in the middle of the object, and we can achieve the same thing. Maybe that's what I will do instead. Let me stop this and provide the translate X 0.5. So the torch position will be probably once again something like a block. So we'll assume that it's a size of 1, and we will move the actual position of the light by half a block from the origin of the block. So from the lower left corner. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, that looks better. You can't really see. Let me maybe make that platform a bit longer, because at the moment the light from the camera and the light from the torch are overlapping, so there's a huge white here. I also reduced the intensity, so I'll make the platform a bit longer there. Let's add 3 more blocks there. So 6, 7, 8, and this is going to be 7, and the torch will be 7 as well. And the max X will be 14, just so we don't run out of space for the player. Okay. Okay, so now we can see that there is a torch over the door that is lighting the portal. Okay, so in the next episode, or maybe in between the episodes, I can just add a new render component to the torch. This is going to be basically a copy of this. just specifying the different model. Probably just use a cube as well, just a different image, and voila, I will have it there. Probably also z of 0 to have it flat, and that's how you add. That's how simple it is to add lights to libgdx. And now I can add lights to any object, including the star. I can make the star like give a bit of lighting as well if I need to, and it's really easy. And that's how you can do it with a components approach. Okay, if you have any other ideas what you'd like to see in this series, like add new kind of blocks, add new kind of objects, some kind of functionality and features you'd like to see, maybe you've been having trouble implementing them yourself in your own game. If you'd like me to take a look at this problem and solve it on this series, just put it in the comments. I'm open to any suggestions you might have for me. So until then, I'll be doing my own stuff, trying to come up with some cool ideas. And that's it for this episode. Make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.